Hello there, girlfriends, and welcome back to my video. I am Iammickeyb. Have we met? If not, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for joining me today, and welcome back to those who have been following this series. We are on Wednesday of week 16, and I know that I have disappeared for a minute, but I had to take care of some things, and as I mentioned in my last video, I had to go to court on a small claims court. So I'm going to give you the update on that, because I have since had the small claims court appointment, and I want to let you know the results and how that went. But first, let's just give you a look at Baldilox up here, because I think we're making some good progress here. Hopefully it's not shiny like it was on the last video. So I didn't do any product or anything yet, so I'm going to move around and see if I can get a little closer in and at different angles, because I know that light shining on top of it kind of makes it a little hard to see sometimes. See if I can take off some of the shine. Okay. So I hope that was a good visual of the spot. It's doing well. My hair is very happy. I just detangled my hair because it's moisturized and it's detangled because I didn't want to, I couldn't slide my hands through it and part easily, so I didn't want to fight with it on camera, so I decided to go ahead and detangle first. So now we're just going to go ahead and start it off, and just in case you guys forgot, since it's been a little bit, we're going to do the hair food, and then we're going to do the cream mixture that has the shea base stuff and the oils and the cream product, which I believe is the Cantu shea butter. It's been so long. I just use basically what I have in the house, but it's a cream base, the shea base powder that I'm using up that I've had, and then a few different oils, vitamin E, olive oil, and jojoba, and whatever other oils I had. I think even some Jamaican black castor oil, which I'll do at the end, down the middle and around the edges. And then so after I do this hair food on my scalp, I do the cream on my hair, and then I put the shea butter on top to weigh it down, and then I put this on top of the shea butter, just regular grease, to give it a little shine, just a little. So it's already wet and moisturized, as I said, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll do one side at a time so I can get this session done fairly quickly, so I can go on to the next thing. So basically, in regards, if you didn't see my last video, I was sharing that I was a case in small claims court had been filed against me. It was a tenant in my mother's home that we're renting out. My mother passed away in 2011. We rented out her home. These tenants lived there for 6 years, just a hair under 6 years. And they really caused a lot of damage to the house, which in turn ended up in me not returning their security deposit. They were upset, claiming that the damages were just normal wear and tear, which were far from that. And so they said that they were going to take me to court, which they did. So needless to say, the court appointment was mid-January of 2021. And it was a virtual court session, and the session was fairly quick. It was actually quite interesting. I love new experiences and learning new things and seeing how things, especially in this new virtual community that we have all been thrust into. So this was quite interesting to see how this was going to play out, online. So basically, you had to have Zoom, you had to have equipment that allowed you to have a video as well as audio, obviously. And so we had to register with Zoom, and then the morning of the appointment, we log on, and then it basically looked kind of like a Zoom call, but not everybody was on. Like in the beginning, they were taking roll, because just like when you're reporting in person, they have a bunch of cases going on the same day. So all of the people who had a case that day, we were all virtually checking in. She did like a virtual roll call. And then once everybody was there and accounted for, and if they had any witnesses, she got everybody signed up, checked off who showed up to make sure that everybody for the case was there. Because if you didn't show up, they needed to know that as well. And then they swore everybody in. They told you to put your hand over your heart or raise your right hand or something like that. I think it was raise your right hand. So we did that. And then they broke us off into mediators. They assigned us to do mediation first, because they encourage you to try and resolve it amongst yourself before you go see a judge. So we did that. I had a lousy mediator who had the evidence in front of them, and they say they don't really look at them, but he was trying to make it look like I didn't have a case. And I'm like, well, we're not going to resolve this. And they were like, if you can't resolve it with the mediator, then you have to wait and see the judge. So that's what I wanted to do anyways. But during mediation, the guy was trying to, he was actually making her feel like she won already. And I'm like, this seems so biased, because he was trying to I don't want to get into too many details, because I'm not going to have enough time in this session. Maybe I'll do it a little bit more later. But she started lying because the mediator was giving her hope that she was going to win. And I'm like, I'm waiting for the judge, because I had a presentation that I did in PowerPoint that was very thorough. Needless to say, it was very, very thorough. And in preparing for this whole thing, which was irritating, I had to go back through 2 years of bank statements, repair bills, pulling out receipts, finding the lease, going through all of that, which was a pain in the butt. And pissed me off that I had to do that, especially when they had, to me, really nerve to expect to get money back after what they did to that house. So, anywho, we didn't resolve anything through the mediator who was very biased, I will say. And he was like, well, I wish you would have done this, that would have been better, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I didn't, but this is what I did do. And that's what I did do, and what I have presented is more than enough to show that they did not maintain this house, especially according to the lease. So he was like, well, okay, I'll send you back to waiting room, whatever, and you will have to take this up in front of the judge. And I was like, okay. So they kind of just put us in a virtual waiting room, which was basically a screen that said waiting room C, and then you just wait until somebody comes back. And it just started saying connecting again. And when it started connecting, when it opened back up, there was the judge, there was the plaintiff, and then myself, the defendant. And we were all three on the screen. And then the judge had my statement of evidence. He had hers, and hers was kind of all over the place. All these different emails and pictures and stuff that she just kept sending and didn't really make a case, other than she said that they didn't get their security deposit returned, and they wanted to have that returned. They demanded their security deposit. So for me, I had asked around, got some good advice from some people in the legal profession who knew how this went down. So I did a little bit of research, like some little last minute research, so that I could prepare properly. And I ended up doing a PowerPoint presentation, and I had an opening statement. I had all the evidence. Basically, I took what she claimed in her scattered statement of evidence, and I just addressed all of the issues that she claimed. And in doing so, I found so much evidence against them, it was ridiculous. So by the time my presentation was complete, and because you email all of your evidence to the court with your case number reference prior to your appointment, your virtual appointment. So I got everything in the day before, and then I was just ready. So everything that you send in, the judge had a copy of it. So he had everything in front of him, and then he just started off by asking her what was, so tell me, so go ahead and tell me, what your case is about. And so she goes and says, we lived in the house for 6 years, and we moved out, and we did this and we did that, and we have proof that we what was she trying to say? She's basically saying we lived there 6 years, we left the house in good condition, but we didn't get our security deposit back. Now, she provided, I think, 1 or 2 images that were couldn't even read them. You couldn't even see them. Couldn't even see what was in there. One side done, by the way. So side number 2. So you couldn't even see. It was like them old school black and white photos where you make a copy and whatever is dark on there is just a black spot. So I'm like, you're providing pictures, you can't even see what's in here. And it was of one of the closet doors that was missing. And I'm like, she was trying to show, I think, that there was a closet door there, but you couldn't even see anything. And then she had a receipt where she tried to show a receipt of I think it was like a gardening receipt that you couldn't even read the receipt. It's like you could know who it was from or what it was for. I'm like, this is horrible. So I had pictures, color pictures. I had before pictures of the house, after they moved out, pictures of the house. I mean, my evidence was like, it was thorough, it was legit. And I covered everything from A to Z. I had receipts supporting everything that I had said, and contest, what's the word? Not arguing her point, but making my case against the stuff she claimed against me. So, like in terms of the carpet damage, in terms of the busted garbage disposal, like I had a page for everything that I was claiming that I used the security deposit for. I provided receipts, I showed pictures, and in my opening statement I said that I was going to show that this the plaintiff damaged the house. They did not receive their security deposit because of the damages they made to the house. And I will show you in my evidence images and proof that images of the damage and evidence of the use of the security deposit, something to that effect, because I don't have it in front of me. But basically I made my statement. She didn't have a statement or anything, and I had one presentation that was in PowerPoint. Like I said, it looked very professional. It had the pictures, it had all the exhibits, it had the receipts. I mean, it was crazy how prepared I was, but I had to do this all in a matter of a few days. And that's the part that was irritating to me, because this was a Wednesday morning when I had to report to that virtual court appointment. So, and I had to work that day, I had to work that week, and the whole weekend trying to get paperwork, trying to drum up all this stuff from 2 years ago. So needless to say, when we get in front of the judge, she states her little claim. And so what happens is, after she said what she had to say and showed pictures of, we moved out, and here's receipts of the stuff we bought to repair all the holes in the walls. And I'm like, that's what you put the holes in there. That's what you're supposed to do. you know? So, I mean, her case was very, it didn't make sense. There was no direction to it. But anyway, after she said what she had to say to the judge, then the judge would turn to me and ask me if I wanted to respond to that. So I did. So every time she said something, I countered it with accurate information. And they told the judge that I was using old pictures. How are these pictures old? And I took them a week before you guys moved out. So how old are we talking? Are you trying to claim these pictures are? So, I mean, I think the judge could clearly see just from my presentation that, I mean, if you're going, because that's the thing, when you go to court, the burden of proof is on the plaintiff. So if they can't prove what they're saying, then they lose. So I didn't have to prove anything. I just had to show that what I did, you know, that I didn't have the burden of proof. I was just defending my case. So that's a little different. So anyways, so he allowed her to say something, I think 2 times, and then I responded to each one because I thought he was gonna come to me and say, okay, you know, Mrs. Mickey, what is your statement? What are you know, I thought he was gonna give me that opportunity. But because it wasn't my case, it was their case, they get that priority and that treatment. So I never got that. So all I could do was respond, because I was prepared to go through my presentation and rebut, is that a word? To respond to all of her claims. I had everything ready to go, and that's what I thought I was going to be able to do, but all I was able to do was just respond to her claims. So luckily in my responses, I was very thorough in my responses, and I would, you know, in my responses, I would give a lot more information than she asked. I would let it lead into other areas that I had kind of stated in my presentation. So luckily I did that. So that way, excuse me, I did get to share some of the information that I had prepared, you know, in front, like verbally in front of the judge. So after he allowed us to respond, then he said, okay, you know, I will, you know, have a judgment in 30 days. And it'll, you know, it'll be in the mail. You know, you'll receive my judgment in 30 days in the mail. So I was like, okay. So it literally, the whole actual appointment in front of the judge took about, I would say 15 minutes, 20 at best. It was so quick. And I didn't really get to speak that much. But what I was really glad about was because I presented such a thorough statement of evidence, and he had that in front of him, that's what he's going to remember. And that's what he's got in front of him while he's making his judgment. So even though I didn't get to speak a lot, everything I was going to say was right there in front of him. So I was glad that I took the extra time to really respond to all of her claims and just do such a good job on the presentation and the evidence that I submitted, because at the end of the day, that's what they're walking away with, and that's what they're going to remember, is what I provided. Her stuff, again, was all, when she saw my presentation, because I sent it the day before, and then she was scrambling to send in more stuff after she saw mine, because she saw that her stuff was raggedy compared to what I presented. And trust me when I tell you, it was a joke. Like when we had to log in and report that morning for the court, she couldn't even get her equipment together. She was like, when the video showed up, then she kept freezing, and then they couldn't hear her. And then when they hear her, then the video would go away. And they were like, and the court clerk was just like, Mrs. Blank Blank, you're freezing again. Mrs. Blank Blank, now we can't hear you. So it was like, how are you going to try to take somebody to court and you can't even get your stuff together. So it ended up, Mrs. Blank Blank had to have a laptop for the visual and a user phone for the audio, and just kept having issues that way. And I'm just like, not only was the statement of evidence like poorly presented, but your equipment is raggedy. You're not even set up to do this right. So needless to say, to make a long story short, because there's so much I could say on this, but I won't. I don't remember putting grease on top, so I'll do a little right this way. Start talking, I don't be paying attention. So anyways, needless to say, I won. It was on a Wednesday. I got my judgment letter that Saturday. And it said judgment was for me that I do not owe the plaintiff any money or property on her claim. And it said furthermore, because the plaintiff lost, that this judgment was final and could not be appealed. Because if you're the plaintiff and you don't win your case, you can't appeal it. So the case is closed. And I was happy with that. I felt vindicated, and and I hope that my mother was proud, where that we got justice, that justice was served, that I represented properly and made sure that justice was served. Because when I tell you, I'm a very fair person. I'm not trying to keep anybody's money just to be mean. I'm not that type of person. I treat people the way that I want to be treated. Last step, and then we're done. But it's like, you can't possibly think that you are entitled to some money. It's like, come on, you guys, like, for real? Like, it was crazy to me that, and they were seriously upset. And like, for 6 years, we were cool. I enjoyed them as tenants. I didn't have any ill will towards them. I wasn't trying to take advantage of them. And, when he was talking to me, when he called me initially saying, upset about not getting the security deposit, he was like, I've always been respectful to you. And I'm like, and as I to you, what does that have to do with anything? I'm not, like, where's all this coming from? It's like, this whole time, like, that money, it's just funny. I was gonna rhyme, it sounded silly. So it's funny how money, but it's funny how when money is involved, people just go from 0 to 100. Like, it was like, I didn't even know him, and he was never ever pissed off like that. And like I said, it was just strange, but I gave him every opportunity. I told him verbally, I had it in writing, if you need me to know anything about these repairs that you want me to consider, let me know. If you don't, and I have to repair the stuff that's on the list, I sent them the pictures. I sent them the list. All before they moved out. Let me know if I should consider something. I told them on the phone. I told them in a letter. Gave them the pictures that we took. So they had all of that. They didn't say anything. Tell me anything out of the ordinary. But then when they get the letter saying that, they weren't getting their security deposit refunded, then they started saying all this stuff. And I'm like, I told you before, if there was anything you needed me to know, you should have told me. And you didn't say a word. I gave you every opportunity to say something. But just when you look at that house, the before and after, it's like the fact that you still feel you have been wrong, that was just amazing to me. You don't treat a property like this and think that that's normal wear and tear. I just beg to differ. But anyways, I did win the case. I was very pleased. And I was prepared to, whatever way it went, I was prepared to give them their money back if that's what the judge said. So I had already swallowed, whatever way it went. and it just happened to go, in my opinion, the right way. So there you have it, Wednesday, week 16. I hope you enjoyed my little story time. I have a lot of stories that I want to share, and a couple movies that I've been watching that are really good ones that I want to share with you guys, but I didn't want to be too long, and I'm pretty sure this was already long. But here's the hair. It's doing well. My hair is really responding to this. It's happy, and I want to keep it like that. And let's give you a final look at the spot again. It's been well over 6 months now, so let's see. Let me look at it myself. Yeah, it's definitely improved. And it's time for henna. And I think because this henna doesn't really last long, I'm not going to really worry about doing the whole entire head. I'm just going to do some of the main parts in the front and right here. I'm not going to worry so much about the back. And I think I'll do that just to kind of maintain. But I want to see what it looks like, what that spot looks like once I get henna on it as well, because it does give a different view of the spot. I feel like sometimes it makes it look more less filled in. So that's what I want to see. So hopefully I can get around to getting henna done in the next week or so, next 1 or 2 weeks. But yeah, so that's what's happened with the case. And you know, I'm trying to get back into my routine of things. You know, life kicks in and you just gotta segue and take care of business. And so that's what I did. But it's good to be back, and I look forward to getting back in my little routine here on camera. I have been doing it off camera, and I just wasn't recording it because I had a little issue with the memory again on my computer. So I figured that out as well. So on that note, you guys, thanks for watching. Happy New Year. Here's to a great 2021, even though we're in February. Better late than never. I hope you guys are all doing well, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Oh, don't forget to comment. What do we say now? I'm out of the loop. Like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. All right, bye-bye.